Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us here on the Father Show. Today, we have a great show, and I'm your host, Mike Thompson. And if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, go to the Father Show with Mike Thompson, click on that subscription button, and while you're there, hit that like button and let everybody know that you like the show. And please give me the feedback. I would love to hear from you and see what you think. Also, if you are a man and you need resources, I ask that you would go to the Father Show with MikeThompson.com, click on resources, and there you will find resources statewide and national that you can contact in case you need some assistance with something. And if you can't find what you're looking for, please shoot me an email at thefathershow@gmail.com and let me know what you may be looking for, and we'll do our best to find it. So today we have a great guest, and I'm very happy to have him here. Today we have Dwayne Meeks. Now, he is a national level expert and the founder of award-winning fatherhood program, Urban Colors Arts and Mentoring. And he is the president and chairman of the Colorado African American Drug Policy Coalition. Dwayne Meeks is a thought leader in the field of strengthening families, communities, and businesses. Meek is teaching and transforming the lives of thousands and solving problems at the highest level. He believes that by changing yourself, you'll be able to change and empower others. Meeks co-authored the book, Pieces Never Missing Required in a Child. It is impacting the country and getting national attention as a recommended read to help fathers and families stay connected and reduce at-risk behavior at home. Meek was awarded the Outstanding Fatherhood Individual by the Responsible Fatherhood Initiative and has been recognized by the governor and mayor for his contribution to responsible fatherhood in Colorado. Urban Colors Arts and Mentoring has been awarded Fatherhood Program of the Year. Now, as an honoree for President Obama My Brother's Keepers initiative, he connects with youth in authentic style. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dwayne Meeks to the show. Excuse me. I was trying to trade over for a little bit. But everybody, let's welcome Dwayne Meeks to the show. Dwayne, how you doing, brother?
Oh man, I'm doing phenomenal, man. Thank you for having me on this awesome platform that you created, and giving us a voice so we can be heard.
Yeah, well, thank you. I really appreciate that. We know, and you've been doing this for a while as well, that us men, we need a platform. And I love bringing on people like yourself that are doing great things in the neighborhood and helping not just the fathers, but the families and the youth in the family so that we can better ourselves. And I love that part when you stated that if we need to do better, we need to be our best self. And that is really something that I believe in, because as fathers, if we're not showing our youth our best self, how we expect them to be their best?
Absolutely. You're right on point with that. It starts from the inside out. A lot of people think, it starts from the outside in. No, it starts with you, the
Hmm.
the individual. And as men, our children look up to us. We are the apple of their eye,
Hmm.
and a lot of times we don't realize that they are watching us. So we have to be careful what we're modeling to them, because every closed eye is not sleep. And
Right.
I've learned that firsthand, raising my children.
Right. I agree. And it is very true. We are, and that was one of my questions, but we're going to get to that a little bit later. But we are being watched all the time, whether it's your own kids or kids you come in contact with. but you're always being watched. So as men, we have to try to be the best version of ourselves. And I know it's not easy. And I know it's challenging a lot of times to do so, but we still have to strive to do that.
Yes, we have to, we have to model, first of all, the number one thing we have to model is love.
Mm-hmm.
Love conquers all, and with love, you really set the foundation in the child's life, hopefully coming from a father. Mom has responsibility, but it takes two parents to raise a
Yeah.
child, to nurture a child, and to give them the emotional balance and the foundation that they need to thrive and be successful. My
Mm-hmm.
my story is, I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and my mother was a single mom who raised three African men, and she did an awesome job. We all made it. I say we all made it out of the hood in Bedford Stuyvesant, Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom separated when I was two, so I knew who my father was, but he wasn't engaged in my life. He wasn't an engaged or responsible father. And I learned over the years, that was something that I always longed for. And I remember this short story really quick. I was 32 years old, and I remember having a conversation with my father in his home, and he walked up to me and he gave me a kiss on my forehead and told me he loved me. Now, I mind you, I'm a 32-year-old man, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at that moment, it seemed like all the years of him not being there disappeared. The pain and the struggles that I had with him not being there all came down to one kiss and one comment to say I love you. And it was the first and the last kiss that I got from my father. I don't ever remember in my life my father telling me he loved me or putting his lips on me, right?
Hmm.
And 2 months after that, he passed away.
Wow.
We didn't know he was sick, but he passed away. And but that taught me a lesson. I realized I blamed my father a lot of times growing up for him not being there, but I also realized that he wasn't raised by his father. He was raised by his brother, because his parents passed away at a young age. So he was only able to teach me based on what he knew and what he was
Mm-hmm.
exposed to. And so I made a promise to myself that I would never do to my children what my father did to me. So when my sons were born, from the day they came out the womb, I showered them with hugs and with kisses and told them how much I loved them, all the way up into their teen years. And now they are 20 years old, and the twins are 18. But growing up, I realized that how they how they received that. And they used to
Mm-hmm.
always say, "Hey, Dad, Dad, why are you kissing me and hugging me in front of my friends and doing this? I'm a man, And I was like, being for men, we need to be able to show emotion. It's okay
Yeah.
to show your kids love and affection from a man. They get it from mom, but getting it from dad, is a different kind of thing. Doesn't make you less of a man. Doesn't make you a wimp or a
Mm-hmm.
sissy or anything like that. So
Mm-hmm.
they understood it. They understood why I did it, and I said, you know what? I don't ever want you guys to long for the type of validation that took me till I was 32 years to finally get that from my father. It was something that I longed for. So I poured it into them from day one, and so now when I'm around them, when they greet me, what is
Mm-hmm.
the first thing they do? They kiss me on the forehead and give me a hug, tell me, Dad, I love you. So
Yeah.
I feel like I broke a generational cycle, and they got it,
Now, do you
And so when they
think?
have children, they can pass it on to
Yeah.
their children.
Now, do you think that the reason that your son first wanted to push that away is because they didn't see any other of their friends' fathers doing the same thing?
Exactly, exactly. They Most of their friends came from single parent backgrounds, and they came from a two parent household.
Hmm.
So they got love from both sides, and that's a struggle with a lot of young men and a lot of young women.
Right.
Where they are dealing with this struggle that in an attempt to regain some kind of power and respect, in society, and there's a lot of racial oppression out there. There's a lot
Hmm.
of white male authority out there. A lot of our kids are dealing with, emotional intelligence issues around self-regulation, um, self-respect, and it goes against them. They get punished for reacting or not being able to deal with their emotions. I believe
Hmm.
the system is set up like that. When you don't can't self-regulate yourself because you are lacking something in some other area of your life, whether it's love, um, respect, validation, appreciation, and you react, then you get punished for it. You get in trouble for that.
Yeah.
Instead of getting down to the root of why that's happening. So a lot of our young people, I'm realizing, are going around and um, having a problem dealing with their emotions.
Hmm.
Fathers bring that bring that that nourishment to them, brings that discipline, that self control. Mom brings that as well, but from a father's point of view, you're always taught, being disciplined, and
Yeah.
what that means.
But
Does it
but
mean
we got to model
have
that. As men, we have to model that because
absolute
what you see on TV, in the media, is the opposite. You see a man going off, and so if you don't have a father figure, and like your program, what you're going to talk about is somebody to mentor them, to show them something different, they think this is how I'm supposed to act, instead of having an example that's showing you, no, let's discuss it, or talk about it. But I think today's youth, everybody is looking at shooting somebody or stabbing somebody. That's their way of resolving an issue,
right,
but that's
right.
what they see.
And that's why we need to train men, healthy men,
Yeah.
training men to be healthy themselves so that they can, I say we need to, take back the village,
Mm-hmm.
and raise our families and show up as healthy men, emotionally, um, physically taking care of our own bodies and our own minds so that we can show up for our families, the way we're supposed to show up, the way God
Mm-hmm.
wants us to show up for our families.
Mm-hmm.
When our men are on drugs, incarcerated, constantly going in and out of jail, are out in the street, hanging out in the street, respecting women, that's not modeling what our young men and women need to see,
Yeah.
just as much as the young women as well,
Right.
because as a father, you want to show her how she's supposed to be treated. But
Yeah.
if you're disrespecting women, and she's gonna end up growing up thinking that that's how she's supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
treated as well, because that's how my dad treated my mom, or I saw my dad being disrespectful. And so you know getting back to training fathers, and that's what our program is about: mentoring fathers and giving them the tools so that they can show up for the families and provide that foundation and that strength. I'm always talking about family prosperity, the whole family.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, when you talk about whole family, we're not including the fathers in the
Mm-hmm.
conversation
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of different reasons. But, my approach is whole family, despite your marital status or your economic status. Two parents raising a child, and so that child is nurtured, well-rounded, and have perspectives. You know, our program, we'll run an 8 to 12 week fatherhood class
Mm-hmm.
curriculum. We talk about healthy masculinities. We talk about domestic violence. We talk about coping. Talk about uh, prevention. Preventing abuse against women and children.
Mm-hmm.
And really getting fathers to look at, who was their father. Where did you learn the things you learned? How do we put that back together? Because there's a lot of broken men. So how do we put that back together and help you heal? Because the men need to heal
Yeah.
so they can show up for the women.
Now, Dwayne, what inspired you to form the Urban Colors and Art Mentoring?
Well, again, what I went through with my father when I was still in Brooklyn and I moved to Denver, Colorado, my experience with my own father really catapulted me into doing this work.
Okay.
And when I got to Denver, I got the opportunity to start the nonprofit organization in 2007, where we were out of our home. We were feeding the kids, the teenagers on the block. We didn't care whether they was gang members or not.
Mm-hmm.
It was a safe place. Our home was a safe place for kids to come. And if the police came driving down the block and kids were in the street, doing whatever they were doing, we would tell them, come over here, come in my yard, come to the house. Let me, take them in the backyard. Let me cook for them. And my wife would, she'd make nachos, hamburgers, hot dogs, that kind of thing, just to really
Mm-hmm.
get them, so the police wouldn't mess with them. And then we would talk to them. We would have conversations about who their parents were, where they lived, why they were doing some of the things they were doing, what did they need help with, and asking them about their lives. What do you want to be when you grow up? So we listened to what the kids were saying. We didn't tell them what they were doing was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We gave them alternatives, gave them choices, and made them think
Mm-hmm.
about who they were and what they wanted to be. Because a lot of times we don't ask our children that. We don't hear what they have to say and what they're thinking, because as adults, a lot of times we think we have all the answers. But my approach is let them talk. They need to be able to talk and hear themselves and get it out, you
Yeah.
know, and then you can mentor it from there. But you have to be an example. You have to build
Yeah.
trust and rapport with our young people nowadays, because the young people don't respect the elders, and the elders don't respect the young people. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a disconnect, and we're trying to bridge that gap and bring it back together. Because
Yeah.
growing up, Native Americans, African Americans, Africans, the way we preserve uh, the people and our families and pass down lessons was through storytelling.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So the kids sat around and we told stories about life.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see that nowadays, and we need to get back to that. Elders need to share their perspective, and young people need to share how they feel as well, without interruption, without judgment,
Yeah.
because we,
Right.
'cause we all been kids before.
Now, do you think that will be a way for a man to strengthen his own family connection?
I do, because I apologize to my sons a lot. When I make a mistake, I'll apologize to them,
Mm-hmm.
and I have. If I'm wrong, I apologize. I tell them, you know what, I was wrong. I was wrong for approaching it that way, and acknowledge that my own faults. That it's okay to be wrong, and I don't have all the answers. I'm still learning, and I'm a grown man. You never
Right.
stop learning. You're a student for your entire life, you know, and a teacher. So I have a mentor who's 85 years old,
Mm.
and I'm still learning,
Yeah.
so I never cut myself off from that, and my children have seen me. They have seen me cry. They have seen
Mm-hmm.
me at times of weakness and at times of strength. But the
Mm-hmm.
one thing they've always seen me never give up, always been resilient, always respectful, and try to model to them, the best example of a father and of manhood that
Hmm.
I could.
Now, what would you tell another man how he can still keep his masculinity and still say, I'm sorry, and humble himself enough to say that I'm sorry, I was wrong. What can I do to make it up to you, or what can I do to do a better job? How would you recommend a father do that, or another man for that matter?
Well, first of all, I would recommend them doing uh, self-assessing, self-assessing themselves, and
Hmm.
being honest and truthful about it. They don't have to be it tell anyone, but your ability to self-assess will determine your character and what you need to work on. You need to be totally honest with yourself and your shortcomings and the truth. And if you can be that with yourself, then you can be honest with anybody else.
Hmm.
I pray, I meditate a lot. The truth hurts sometimes, and it always comes out, and you always expose yourself when you're not telling the truth. It eventually will come out and pour out in some other area of your life. But you know, back to what I said in the beginning, it's inside, it's internal.
Yeah.
There's nothing outside of you that can control you, but yourself.
So you,
So your behavior, those things come from your actions,
yeah,
and your actions come from your choices. It come from there is internal.
yeah. So you have to be in tune with yourself, and you got to know yourself and understand, and really, like you said, mentoring, assessing yourself on a day, really a daily basis, if not all day.
Right. I mean, if you grow up and you all you saw was your father and mother arguing constantly, and your father physically abusing your mother, or them fighting constantly, and you find yourself in a relationship, and you are starting to display some of them same traits and patterns, you
Mm-hmm.
have to ask yourself, where did that come from? Where did I learn this behavior from? And why is it spilling over into my own relationships? Back to self-assessment. But if you're just going through life and just doing stuff without thinking, then that's a recipe for disaster. But when you do things, you need to ask yourself, why do I do this? Where did that come from? Where did I learn this behavior from? Just like a positive behavior.
Mm-hmm.
You learned it, you saw it from somewhere, you did it, and things worked out for you. But it's also the opposite. The negative behaviors. If you're
Yeah.
exposed to drugs and alcohol, and you find yourself being a teenager, and all of a sudden, you need to drink all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does to you. Where did you see that? Did you see your father or your mother, drinking alcohol a lot and then getting into fights and arguing, or bills didn't get taken care of. You didn't have food because people were addicted, and you grew up around that. You know, these are just things that we're it's real life. We're exposed to. It doesn't matter what class you are. You got white families who are middle and upper class who are dealing with those
Mm-hmm.
same type of issues. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not just low income people and people who marginalize folks, people that
Right.
realize this is a global issue,
Yeah.
and it doesn't discriminate. So
No.
um, back to self assessing. If you can't self assess yourself, then that's gonna be a problem for you later on in life.
Now, Dwayne, I was thinking about this, and you mentioned you have a mentor that's 85.
Yes,
Okay.
He's-
Now, do you
he
think
is the co-author. Yeah,
also?
he's the co-author on my book,
Okay.
uh, and his name is he's a retired Superior Court judge out of Washington D.C., professor at Howard University.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Judge Arthur L. Burnett Sr.
Okay. Now,
and
do
he
you
came into my
believe?
life.
Well, do
Go
you
ahead.
believe every man should be a mentor, or every man is a mentor?
Well, every man is a mentor,
Okay.
you know, whether it's good or bad. You know, I believe that um, we all should be positive mentors, and we should model the behavior that we want to see in our children,
Mm-hmm.
and our communities. You can't be a hypocrite. You can't tell kids what they should do, how they should behave, and then they turn around and see you doing the opposite. So it's not what do what I say. It's they're watching you, and they're looking at your behavior and what you are doing. Whether you see them or not, how you carry yourself. So we all have the potential to be mentors. My quote is, "You can't keep it unless you give it away."
Mm-hmm.
If you learn something, a valuable skill, and it has helped you, then I believe it's your obligation to pass it down, whether it's to your own children or to somebody else's child.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're here to do, to teach others. And so many of us don't want to be, and the media has us doing that. We want to be perfect. We want to be seen as perfect individuals with the perfect life in society's eye, but that's not the truth. We see a lot of
Right.
that on social media. It's not the truth. It's an illusion,
Mm-hmm.
and people go through stuff and have problems. There's no perfect family, and there's no blueprint to being the best parent, the best father in the world. There's just not. You learn from your lessons. You
Mm-hmm.
learn from doing, and
Hopefully.
when you mess up, you got you gotta admit it,
Yeah.
and fix it at the same time. You can't keep repeating the same cycle over again and then blaming it on what happened to you.
Yeah.
You have to do something about it.
Yeah. Now and I saw a quote from you the other day that says, "Stop overestimating other people and underestimating yourself." What did you mean by that?
It has to do with stepping into your power and knowing who you were called to become,
Mm-hmm.
and not placing your validation or your um, you know um, being appreciated and respected by from someone else.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know who you are, whose you are, and be who you was sent here to become. We come here to grow and to you know, experience life.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna leave here at some point in time. You know, by yourself, and you're not taking any of this with you. So while you are here, stop giving other people your power.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know this person may who are they to judge you? You don't know what that person is going through themselves. You
Mm-hmm.
don't know what shoes I walked in to get to where I'm at. So that's a quote I use for myself that I've learned over the years is, stop giving away your power and step into your greatness. Claim your throne, and know who you are, because that's that's the value right there. That's the success right there. It's not
Yeah.
anything materialistic,
Yeah.
and your
When I
children
saw it,
see that.
yeah, when I saw it, I actually love the quote. Because it is you are looking at somebody else and worried about how did they get to where they are, and you figure, wow, I can never do that. I'm just not that good. So you're underestimating yourself because you have the power to do whatever you want to do, but it's got to come from up here and here. So you can't, and I tell my kids, I said, don't tell yourself anything negativity. You keep that negativity out of your life as much as you can, And I know as human beings, we tend to gravitate to negativity. I don't know what that's all about, but why that's ingrained in us. But we tend to gravitate to negativity more to positive. And we have to struggle to keep that positive going. And I know you mentioned that you meditate. And I keep saying I'm going to do it, but I haven't started yet. But I know
You know,
that's a good way.
yes, and to keep it very simple with meditation is just quieting your mind, and focusing on one thing, and it's quieting your mind because in the daily hustle and bustle, there's so much chaotic stuff going on, so much noise happening that you can't focus on hearing what's going on inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you an opportunity to go inside, get quiet, go into that quiet space, listen for the answers to the questions that you're asking about yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and just, it completely on the spiritual path and whatnot, we are being guided, you know, all the time, but our egos don't allow us to listen. We usually
Yeah.
go against the grain and give ourselves the benefit of the doubt. And when we do that, things don't usually work out. But when you follow your intuition and your spirit, you can't go wrong.
Yeah. Now, the way you mentioned your dad and some of the struggles you had, with your dad, but is there one thing that your dad taught you that you really appreciated, you learned from him?
Yes, and I've been thinking about that a lot. I've come down to the point where the things that have happened and I experience, there's no good and there's no bad. It just is. And if I didn't go through experience what I did with my father, I wouldn't be doing this work today because it wouldn't have inspired me to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So my father was a businessman, and he taught me business ethics. But I learned from watching him, with the eighth grade education, going into the military. Back in those days, you didn't have to have a whole lot going to the military.
Right.
You know, um, he went to the Air Force, came out, uh, worked for the post office for many years, but went back to school and got his degree and certifications to in refrigeration and air condition
Okay.
servicing. And so he opened up his own business, which he had for many years before he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So despite his circumstances, he took his circumstances and made good with it and became a successful businessman. You know, and so I learned those things from him, um, and that's probably one of the biggest things I learned from him. I
Yeah.
know that he loved us,
Okay.
even if he may not have shown it.
Yeah.
But you feel that I know he loved us, but when he finally said it, it was like everything else that happened in the past didn't matter. It was This is what I had been waiting for, all my life, just to say, I see you, son. I
Mm-hmm.
love you, and and I value you. And it was like a monkey off my back. I was just like waiting to exhale. I was like, wow, I didn't realize I was waiting for that,
Yeah.
all those years, and I was very angry about it, but over the years, as I've spoken at different conferences and different stages, and I've talked about it, every time I've talked about it, I've learned, so I felt something different. So I was
Mm-hmm.
already on my healing path, and I needed to heal, while I was still doing this work out here. So it took me down my own healing path, and I know how to talk to fathers who need to heal as well
Yeah.
from, whatever trauma that they had with not being connected, having their father in their lives.
Yeah.
There's a lot of men who are in prisons who I've talked to as well that, man, they say, what, if my father was in my life, I wouldn't be in this situation
Mm-hmm.
because he would have put his foot up my butt, kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing, and he would have been there. said things to me that, would have made me think, and so yeah, we got lot of men and a lot of women in prison
Yeah.
who are
Yeah.
dealing with the same issues, that with
Yeah.
daddy issues,
Daddy
daddy
issues.
hunger issues,
Now, what
and they
would
need to
be,
heal.
yeah. Now, what would be some of the things that you really hope your sons learn from you?
Um, I want them to know that, how much I love them, and I constantly tell them that
Mm-hmm.
still, and that, you know, I I want you to be better than I am. I
Mm-hmm.
think if your children are not better than you are, and they repeat the same cycles or go backwards, then you haven't done your job. I want you to
Mm-hmm.
be better than me,
Yeah.
greater than me, and take what I've uh, my lessons that I've learned that I've shared with you, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and learn from it, and be able to assess yourself and know that you are loved, that you are great, you came here to be great, and not let anyone take that away from you,
Yeah.
you know, and be the best that you can,
Yeah.
just do your best. I would tell them that in school. If you didn't get an A and you got a C, it was like if you got a C, I was okay with that. If you told me that was the best I could do,
Mm-hmm.
I did my best.
Mm-hmm.
Just tell me you did your best. Don't tell me you didn't study, because then that's another problem, But if you say I did my best and your best was a C at that time, then I'll take that because you said you did your best.
Yeah. Now, you've got a book, and we mentioned it in the beginning, and it's like Pieces Never Missing, required in a crisis in a child's life. And I'm
Mhm.
holding it up right now so the audience can see it. Tell us a little bit about what they can find in this book.
You can find in Pieces Never Missing, required in a child's life, a combination of my professional and lived experience as a African American father, going into the public school system and trying to uh, advocate for my children, and advocate for other fathers, and also to help educators learn how to engage fathers in an academic setting. It provides some strategies and some tools for service providers and teachers, to how to connect with fathers, how to meet them where they're at in the most authentic way. And then the opposite of that is how fathers, when you go into a school system, how who do you talk to? How do you make your presence known there? Because that's something that we're not used to seeing a whole lot. We're
Mm-hmm.
not used to seeing fathers showing up in the schools. We got fathers who are weekend warriors, and they're at home, they come home from work. But I had the privilege and the flexibility to be that father who um, had the time to go up to the school, show up to the meetings, to be engaged in all aspects of events, classrooms, meetings, and I would have the teachers on each one of their teachers in my phone on speed dial.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would say, don't just call me when my child is not, doing well, but also call me when, there's something to celebrate, when, he does something really good in school, so we can celebrate at home as well. So, teachers eventually they didn't have a problem with calling me, during the course of the day to to help them, because I would say I'm here to partner with you because my child spends 8 hours a day in this building, and I want to know who the people are that my child uh, is learning from, is dealing with, and who you are, and how my child feels about you. So, it took time, to build trust and rapport, but I've had a lot of teachers and principals thank me for my approach because as an African American male going into a schools that are predominantly white and run by white women many times as well. There was a bias that was there,
Mm-hmm.
and they saw me as a black man coming to the school, and if something if I was coming up there to address the issue, they automatically thought that I was going to be aggressive and loud and boisterous and just but I was the opposite, and we learned and we grew together. And the principal at one of the schools allowed me to come in and implement a fatherhood engagement program in one of their schools that was doing really bad,
Mm-hmm.
and it helped turn the school around to get more men involved in volunteering um, in the school, doing different tasks that were assigned to them, and just having that presence there to support the teachers.
Yeah.
Being a teacher is a hard job.
Yes,
So
it
I
is.
commend all teachers,
Yeah.
but to have that aspect of it of fathers supporting teachers and being there for their children and other and mentoring other children was a win-win for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Well, good. I'm glad you did, and that is important to have more fathers, and you're seeing it little by little. You're seeing more fathers get involved in the school and taking the kids to school, picking them up from school, and so forth. So the work that you're doing is starting to get that movement going. So I really appreciate and thank you for what you're doing and being so involved in the community, because that's where it starts. It's great that we work on our own family and we improve with our sons and our relationship with our daughters and so forth, but we've got to get out there and show other men that it can be done, and you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. So go ahead. But as we talked about, knowledge is the key. They can only do what they know. So if they don't know it, how you expect them to do it? So,
Get a mentor.
yeah. Well, I want to thank you, Dwayne, for being on the show. It's really been a pleasure to have you on the show and talk about urban color arts and mentoring and talking about how fathers can do better and be better. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it, Mike. Thank you very much as well.
It
Thank you for
is,
having me.
oh, it's definitely my pleasure. And keep up the great work that you're doing, man. I really do. I love what you're doing. Well,
Thank you.
ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be our show for today. And I really thank Dwayne Meeks for coming on the show and sharing his knowledge, with us. And we have to do a better job. And Dwayne can't do it by himself. And there's other programs out there and they can't do it by themselves. We as men have to get together and start spreading it out, making this a kind of virus that really needs to be spreaded. And people need to understand that as fathers, we do count, we do matter in our kids' life. And I'm saying that for not just the teachers, but the mothers and grandparents. Everybody needs to understand the importance of a father in a child's life, and it is very important. So I thank you for joining us this week. If you have not subscribed to the show, please go to our YouTube channel and hit that subscription button. And don't forget, hit that like button. And while you watching the show, talking to your friends, tell them about the Father Show with Mike Thompson and let them know we're here. We have Dwayne Meeks. We have other men and women coming on the show to talk about things that's going to make us the best versions of ourselves. If you pay attention, if you listen and take something away from it, you will become the best version of yourself. And also, if you're looking for resources, please go to the Father Show with MikeThompson.com. Click on resources, and there you will find resources that are national and statewide. So whatever assistance that you may need, whatever help or person you need to talk to, you probably can find it there. So until we see you next week, I want to thank you for joining us. Don't forget, tell somebody else. God bless you all. And I can't wait to see you the next time.